My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Gallop Out. Saw you yesterday, but we're back again today. Jackson, my usual co-host, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. How you doing? Happy Thursday.
Doing well. Shane O'Neill is in here. He's got his popcorn ready. He just saw his boy Mixto on the cover as we load in. That's never leaving. That's got to be the intro till the end of time, whenever that might be.
We'll talk about that privately.
Okay, if we can get a better picture of rank, then I'll throw that up tomorrow. But
yeah,
that's Shane. You're going to be in charge of that one. All right. On today's show, we are going to be going over the late pick 5 Saturday at Aqueduct. Jackson, we were going to cover Saturday at Del Mar, but they have canceled their racing card. However, you and I will be back tonight on HHH to do Pacific Horse Players with Noah Maher, our host, as we go over the late pick 5 for tomorrow, Friday, the 14th of November. We're going to go through their late pick 5 sequence. Should be a good one. I'm excited to dive into that, talk about that with you guys, and then get on site tomorrow and talk about it again with the man Kurt Hoover. So today, though,
simulcast over here. Nice.
Yeah, but I almost like these shows better because these shows are with you. And we get to have a good old time. And if I'm drinking, I don't get fired. So all positives all around. Anyway, we're already off the rails. Late pick 5 at Aqueduct. I thought it was a pretty good sequence. Yesterday, you, myself, and Mikey P from In the Money went through the late pick 6 at Churchill Downs for Claiming Crown weekend. That was a really competitive sequence. We don't have the, back-to-back 14-horse fields, but I did think that there are some prices that we can find in here. And on top of that, we have a grade 3 and a listed stakes, both on the grass, as 4 of the 5 races in this sequence are going to be on the turf.
Yeah, I thought the sequence might be a little more chalky, at least in the one we covered for Churchill this weekend. That looks completely impossible, but I thought this one had a chance, especially in a couple specific races where the chalks look like they'll be pretty tough. But there are some contenders that are gonna have their chance to take them down. So it's gonna be a fun sequence to talk about.
No doubt. We'll dive right on into it. We're going to go race number 6 to kick us off. We're going 6 furlongs on the outer turf. State bred allowance, non-winners of 1 other than company. Picks going up on the screen. I went 4-5. Jackson went 10-8. Jackson, that's going to be a theme of today. We only agree on 1 top pick and I think 1 second choice. Everything else is different. So that's a good sequence in my eyes. But we're going to start with you. We're going to go to one last knock, number 10, Kerry Bryan, Kendrick Carmouche. You picked this one on top.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing, right? We'll have plenty to talk about if we're thinking about different horses in this sequence. I looked through this field, and the more and more I looked through these other horses, I kept coming back to this horse. What is the knock on one last knock? I guess the post. The outside post could be concerned, but other than that, she's lightly raced. She's going in the right direction. She's tactical, but doesn't need the lead. She's got the best speed figures in this race. Getting Kendrick Carmouche back aboard again. She just beat a lot of these same horses. I have a tough time picking someone else in this race at 5-2. I think 5-2 is a very, very fair price. I think she wins much more than that if they ran this race 100 times. I just think that last race was really good. She chased Silsby home, who was a big, big favorite. No shame in being second best to that horse. Those two are well clear of everyone else. And I think if she runs back those last 2 races, she's going to be a handful for this group to beat.
Yeah, she is, and she's a deserving favorite at 5-2 without a doubt. I don't know. She's drawn inside in her last 2 starts, and I haven't been able to find much of an excuse. Given Silsby, I think, is a better horse than she is, especially on the day last time out. So maybe that's why, but I don't know. Now you draw outside, that would kind of be my only knock. against the number 10 one last knock in here is just, you've had the benefit of inside post the last 3 races. You got the job done once and you came in second twice. And now you have to overcome a wide trip. Maybe she can. She certainly does have the strongest speed figures of anybody in here. I went with a bit of a price. I went with the number 4 and Fifi Lafume. Rudy Rod and Ruben Silvera, they've teamed up to have a great deal of success. I like the cutback angle here. I get that you're stepping up in class, going from the restricted claimers, just broke the maiden 2 back versus state bred maiden 50. But I like the way she did it that day. And again, I like the cutback angle. She's going to have to take a step up for sure, but I do think that there's a fair bit of pace in this race. And I think she can maybe sit that pocket trip, maybe a couple lengths off the speed, hopefully make a run turning for home. And I'll take a chance with this one on top, although it's a pretty wide open race. And I'm kind of just trying to beat the favorite in the number 10.
Yeah, she's a big price. I didn't love her maiden victory. That race it completely collapsed. So she was able to take advantage. But again, she's 15-1. So yeah, go ahead.
All right, there we go. We'll go to the 8 in Twirling Lulu. I gave a strong look to this one. 8-1, I think, is a fair price for a horse facing winners for the first time. You picked this one in second.
Yeah, she feels like the upside filly in this race. A lot of these horses, we kind of seen a lot of them at this point. We know what they are. We know what they're capable of. And this is only her second start of her 3-year-old campaign. And the one turf start as a 2-year-old was quite good. It came against a really good field. She contested a fast pace and ran really well. Then she came off the bench, have her long break, and she won that day. And I admit she got a very, very good trip in there and took advantage of, advantageous circumstances. But she still got a good number in there. And I would expect her to probably move forward second off the bench, as horses from this barn typically do, as she did in her second career start. So she does need to improve in this race to be competitive, but I do think that's not absolutely impossible in here. And at 8-1, she'd be the other horse I would be using in the sequence.
Yeah, she's certainly a horse that you could factor in off that maiden victory. She's going in the right direction. One of the last ones we'll talk about is number 5, Long-Legged Queen. Obviously, Hope Savachi is back in the saddle. He was unseated today. I haven't seen an update, but obviously hope he's okay. So hope we get to see him back sooner rather than later. But either way, Long-Legged Queen. I like that last victory again, coming from off the pace, kind of a theme with my picks in this race, just because there seems to be a good deal of early pace in here. You have the number 8 Twirling for Lulu. Well, as we go through the pace scenario, the number 3 Alpine Giant is not slow. The Rail Runner and Artistic Success has had speed going a little bit longer, but seems to do her best running up front. So I'm hopeful, especially with the number 7 Royal Event getting blinkers on. That one can be quick. No Factor has some early speed, kind of. But either way, it's always tough to try and guess when pace is going to show up in New York in turf races. But I'm going to take a chance here. I think Long-Legged Queen off the back of that last victory is going the right way. I hope we get to see Sihan, I forgot his first name, Savachi back in the saddle come Saturday. But either way, this one off that last victory, I'm going to take him right back, or take her right back. That didn't take long for me to mess up a horse. I don't have a beer with me, though. Otherwise, I'd drink. But regardless, that last effort, I like it. It was over this turf course, over the outer, going the 6 furlongs. I think stepping back against State Bred, she's going to kind of meet her friends, and she's another one coming from off the pace that I want to give a strong look to. 4-5 for me, 10-8 for Jackson. Jackson, before we move on, the number 9, it's Flavien Prat at 6-1. Are we dumb for not including this one anywhere?
No, look, she's going to be way over bet just because it's Pratt and it's Maker. She's never run a turf sprint race that makes her competitive in here. Like, her best turf sprint was the June 26th race, and that was a race where half the field took up down the backside, and she was kind of the one that recovered the quickest and took advantage of that to finish third. I don't need her based on any of her turf sprint form.
I'm with you. I think she's much, much better going longer. She got away at 19-1 over summer at Saratoga with Flavien Prat aboard. But yeah, the sprint efforts don't exactly enthuse off the speed figures that we've seen. Yeah, they're very slow. So I'm with you. I just wanted to point it out because it's not every day you see Prat at 6-1. But we'll wrap up race number 6. I'm going 4-5. Jackson going 10-8. Forgot to mention this, but please head on over to inthemoneypodcast.com to check out all their excellent content, including content from yours truly and the gentleman below me, Jackson Muniz. We're going to be doing some more work within the money, and we are now with In the Money. So that's where you can view this podcast and this recording after we're done being live on my YouTube at the Gallop Out. Obviously, check out In the Money on X or YouTube if you haven't done so already. All right, race number 7. It's the Grade 3 Jockey Club Oaks. We're going 1 mile and 3/8, and we got some big hitters in here in that 3-year-old division. I'm going 5. Excuse me, I'm going 5-7. Jackson, you're going 4-7. We'll start the conversation with Fionn. Fionn raced last time, and we'll talk about Laurelyn as well, who is the number 7 in here. Laurelyn, actually, let's start with her. She's the morning line favorite, and she was undefeated going into that last effort in the QE2 Cup at Keeneland, where she finished second to a very nice horse in Lush Lips for Brendan Walsh. I don't know. I kind of expected her to take a step forward last time, and she didn't. So I'm trying to beat her in here. I'm also trying to beat Fionn. I don't know if that's maybe a bit of a fool's errand, but what say you? You can talk about Laurelyn first, and then take us over to Fionn.
Yeah, you kind of have to figure out what to do with the QE2 because it was kind of a weird race where like Fionn didn't really run, and neither did anyone else in the back. Like the top 3 just kind of merry-go-rounded around there. But they were also like way clear of everyone else too. So it was kind of a strange race in that regard. But Laurelyn's she's done nothing wrong, right? She was undefeated before that. She had won all those races very decisively. Did Lush Lips take a huge step forward last time to beat her? Or did Laurelyn just not run as well as she had at Saratoga? Is what you think you need to figure out with this filly. She's definitely getting the jump on a horse like Fionn. I think at the prices they're going to be based on the morning line, I would probably prefer Fionn, but I'm not going to talk off anyone that likes Laurelyn in this race.
Yeah, no doubt. We're watching the stretch run here. That is Opulent Restraint up front. That's Lush Lips from the rail coming to her, and then Laurelyn in third with the jockey with the yellow cap. And you mentioned at the start of your analysis there, they kind of just went merry-go-round around there, and you can see that kind of come true right here. Opulent Restraint just didn't have enough and kind of wouldn't switch leads right there, but Lush Lips got the jump. Laurelyn really ran well in defeat without a doubt, and then Opulent Restraint, came on for third. But obviously you get the 2 big hitters in Laurelyn and Fionn out of that race. Fionn did make up some ground late, but it was a non-threatening 4th place finish. So I don't know. You said at the beginning you got to kind of make heads or tails of the QE2 Cup, and I'm going to, I guess, make tails of it and try and beat the 2 main horses that are coming out of there. I'm going to go with Evershed for Delacour. Dylan Davis is going to be aboard here. I want to kind of excuse that last effort in the Old Dominion Oaks, even though she ran really well. That was over pretty much a bog. It poured rain for about 45 minutes, 30 minutes. They were in a heavy delay over summer before the running of this race. And as Catch Can ended up winning that one, Evershed was the favorite and kind of failed. But again, I don't know that was going to be her preferred service. The race 3 back at Colonial, that was a nice professional looking win, came right back, stepped up against Grade 2 at the Saratoga Oaks Invitational, and ran really well when running in defeat to Laurelyn that day at 14-1. You can see some common opponents in those running lines with Opulent Restraint finishing in third. Evershed split the difference between her and Laurelyn in there. So I think she can kind of turn the tables. I think she's going to sit a little bit closer, maybe in that same sort of spot. Going the 1 mile and 3/8. I like the stretch out and distance. I think that's only going to help. Obviously, her breeding top and bottom length and distance rather is not going to be an issue of any kind. So I'm going to try and take kind of that alternative angle and try and beat those top 2 favorites. And I'll probably single Evershed in all my horizontals, just trying to take a stab against 2 horses that are going to take a lot of money. Rightfully so. They're both very talented, but I think this is one where I might try and get a little bit creative. So
what was the excuse to back against Laurelyn? Because Laurelyn handled her very easily that day. And that day she was 14-1. Now she's going to be 5-1.
Yeah.
The tables on that horse.
She's had time to develop, and I think that goes a long way. I mean, her last race was September 9th, and not that Laurelyn hasn't, progressed really nicely and taken steps forward, but she ran that 94 in the Saratoga Oaks Invitational and then came out and ran a 92, which very respectable, but you didn't see some massive progression. And then if we go inside to Fionn's kind of run the has topped out at a low 90s and mid 80s. And Evershed, if you go to that race 2 back, that fits certainly with the likes of what Fionn has done. Has to take a step up to turn the tables on Laurelyn, but with having some time off, and you're going to get what is going to be a square price, because I think Laurelyn's certainly going to be the clear favorite, and I'd say Fionn a clear second choice. You're going to get around that 5-1 on Evershed, and I think that's fair to take for a 3-year-old filly we haven't seen since the late summer. We're now approaching the middle of November. I think that's a lot of time for these 3-year-old fillies to mature and grow up a little bit, and I think if she gets back to that effort 2 back, I think and takes a step forward even. which would be necessary. I think she can turn the tables because she had a good steady, progression going from her debut race, going 5.5 through the Saratoga Oaks Invitational, and then maybe took a step back in the Old Dominion. But again, with that soft going, I'm willing to kind of excuse that. We'll keep things moving. If if you don't have any other horses you want to talk about in here,
well, I'll just talk about Fiona because we.
My bad. Go ahead.
I think with her, I am most confident that she does want to go the 11 furlongs because that is something we haven't talked about yet. This race is 11 furlongs. The QE2 was 9. And I do think that is a big difference because she ran really well at Kentucky Downs. And I know that was a race that the field all kind of came together going in the final quarter mile. There was like 9 horses spread across the track at one point. But those top 2 ran away from everyone else, which gives me confidence that this is what she wants to do. She is going to get better with more distance. And look, you got to be forgiving of the QE2 if you would like her in this spot because she didn't run that great. But I do think there might be a little bit more speed sign on in here. And again, at the prices that she is going to be versus Laurelin, I do think I prefer Fiona in this spot. And I would assume Pratt is going to try to put her into the race a little bit more than he did at Keeneland. She was so far back in that race. I think he'll probably get more of a trip that we saw at Saratoga over the summer when she was stalking Nitrogen and ran that filly down because she was pretty close that day against Nitrogen. So I would imagine that would be the tactics in this race.
I would imagine that you're correct there. We're watching the race right now. The number 7 is Fiona with the 12 Candy Quest to her outside. Yeah, you can see that they drew clear the rest after making that kind of wide move. They didn't go super quick in there. And again, that was, so they came home in good fashion, in good order to, get all that done. You also had here for a good time coming out of that same race, but I don't know that she's going to be a huge factor in this one. I'm with you. I do think Pratt needs to get this one involved a little bit early. I do think the blinkers off move is maybe a little bit curious. I mean, I'm not going to say that I can make a decision better than Brad Cox because he's certainly doing pretty well this meet up in New York. But regardless, I do think blinkers off for a horse that also hasn't shown any early speed, maybe a little bit of a concern. I don't know that you're going to get a huge pace scenario, but I'm with you. I think Fiona and Laurelin are very clearly the 2 horses to beat in here off that very consistent form for these 3-year-olds. And, they've done very little wrong, but I'm going to try and take a stab against with another 3-year-old filly that I've had my eye on. So race 7, I'm going 5-7. Jackson's going 4-7 for our audio listeners in the grade 3 Jockey Club Oaks. We're going to go now to race number 8. It's the only dirt race we get to talk about today. We're going 6.5 for state bred allowance, non-winners of 1 other than company. I'm going 4-1. Jackson is going 7-2. Jackson, we're going to start with Skytown for Adelphi Racing Club. I wonder if our buddy Howard Kravitz owns a piece of this horse. First time gelding got your top billing in here.
Yeah, we'll get to the favorite in this race, who I think is way the horse to beat. I do think Skytown is the alternative, though, in this spot. And it kind of goes back to the case I made for the 8 horse in the first leg. This is a gelding not a first-time gelding that was running numbers as a 2-year-old and as an early season 3-year-old that aren't that far off from what it's going to take to win this thing. And now he's had plenty of time. He's had the whole summer to grow up, to get better, and it won't be surprising if he's able to jump up a few points. I do like that he's speedy enough. He won that race at Aqueduct over in February, and they threw him into a stake race. So I think that kind of tells you what they thought of him, what they think of him, that he does have ability. Now he's in this race, much more realistic spot, first time gelding off the bench. He's run well off the bench before. He's drawn outside of the other speed. And if he's able to take that step forward from, an early season 3-year-old to November 3-year-old, I think he's going to have a chance to be right there at a price. So he's a horse I want on top. Reluctant top pick, though. We're going to talk about the favorite again. I think that horse is going to be very difficult in this spot.
Yeah, I don't have any knocks against the number 7 Skytown. You brought up a lot of really excellent points. No love for the 6 and Empire Sky between the 2 of us. Any particular reason it was we just kind of work our way through this field?
Well, we have a lot of horses coming out of that October 19th race, and the pace was just honest. I don't know. I just thought Long 4 ran so much better than everyone else did in that spot. Empire Sky kind of just picked up the pieces late. Long 4 was in chase mode the whole time against Roofer, who's very, very fast. He actually returns in here as well, which is why I don't have him on top. But I think if you want anyone out of that race, I do think it's Long 4. He's the fastest horse in the field. He's going to be forward. He's going to get a good trip. It's just a matter of, can someone come catch him late or not?
Yeah. To talk about Long Pour, because you picked this one in second. I don't know. I felt like maybe the inside post could be a bit of a detriment. I know that maybe he is the fastest on speed figures, or the fastest horse early. Maybe the quickest horse would be a better way to put it. I just thought that there is some other speed in here, and maybe he's going to get a little bit uncomfortable. But if he runs back to that last race or the maiden breaking performance, I mean, yeah, I'm with you. He's going to be very, very tough. I ended up going with the number 4, 3Bs for Linda Rice. Savachi again named to ride. Hope we get to see him. But this is just the angle for this is in a race where, one, a lot of them are coming out of a common race, and two, these first level races, I like to look for horses who have multiple wins, who know how to get to the winner's circle, and this is one of those. 3Bs last time for Linda Rice, who obviously dominates the claiming ranks, but has a stronghold pretty much anywhere in New York. Came out really nicely to win a race that they went pretty fast early. There's no denying that, but picked up the pieces and did things the right way. This is definitely a deep closing type, but has wins going the 6 furlongs. I wanted to give this one a look just because I do think that there is a fair bit of pace in here. I do think Long Pour is going to be forward. I think the horse right to that one's outside, and Roofer should be forward. And then the number 8, Share the Loot, has done some of his best running up front and up on the lead. So with Chris Elliott booked to ride again, I do think we get an aggressive ride out of that one, which led me to 3Bs. I feel like the cutback of a furlong might emphasize that kind of late kick that he's had on the dirt. So I wanted to give this one a look. I think 5-1 is the morning line price. I'm hoping I can get every bit of that. And at the end of the day, kind of just Linda Rice I trust in a race where it's a very open, very competitive race. So I wanted to get a little creative, I guess.
Yeah, the issue I had with him is that last race, he is never going to get a better setup than he got. I mean, at the opening quarter, there was basically like 6 horses stretched across the track at one point, and then they kind of sorted themselves out in the second quarter, but he was always in the best spot. They were flying, and then he needed the entire length of the stretch to go by. I just don't see how he's getting that kind of setup again in here, and now he has less ground to work with as well.
I don't disagree with you. I do think that he's kind of he's been able to run his race most times. 2 and 3 back, he was chasing a pretty slow pace, but the race 4 back at Saratoga, given he was trained by Orlando Noda at the time, he was a little bit closer with Joel Rosario aboard that day, and I felt like maybe he could be a little bit closer. Maybe he was so far back last time just because, as you mentioned. Well, yeah. But
he was last in my race. There's only 5 horses.
Well, yes, there were only 5, but he closed into a pace that was not a 6 across duel. So he was dead last. He's going to come from out of it, but he didn't come from 5 lengths out of it like he did last time out, going 7 furlongs because again, you mentioned it. They were chasing basically a 6 wide cavalry charge going through the first quarter or so. So I thought maybe he can sit a little bit closer, and if Sahin Savachi gets him a little bit into the race, I feel like that's going to make him dangerous going 6 furlongs. So just wanted to get a little bit of an alternate view there. And then Manhattan Twist down on the rail, kind of just didn't know what to do with this horse. So I wanted to throw him in thinking that maybe he gets forgotten about. I think the board is going to tell a big story maybe on this horse and this horse's chances. Might just get overbet because of the Pratt and My Racehorse effect. So maybe it's going to be a little tougher to tell. But first time gelding, first time Lasix, has been off since about a year ago. It's going to be 364 days come Saturday. So this is kind of that dark horse where you don't know. Maybe he's come along really well. This is a reasonable spot to bring this horse back. Cost $150,000, but you don't see him entered in for a claiming tag rather. So comes back protected against New York breds, and if anything, you can look back to the debut performance where this one seemed to fire fresh first time out. Maybe he was just really cranked up that day, but lost a sacrosanct next out. That's a pretty salty horse, and then on turf, which is I don't think where he wants to be. So we get a chance to see him now late into his 3-year-old season. Again, he's been gelded, Lasix. Maybe this is going to be a bit of a turning point. We can see a step forward. So one I want to give a shout to, just thought 9-2 was fair enough value on that. All right, that's race number 8. I'm going 4-1. Jackson is going 7-2 for all of our audio listeners. We'll move on now. Race number 9, it's the Knickerbocker Stakes. Picks are up on the screen. I am going 4-3. Jackson's going 4-2. Jackson, this is the only race where you and I agree, and Ohana Honor looks to be in a perfect race to get back in the winner's circle.
It sure seems like it, right? And we got to start with the Sycamore. That was a race. He took so much money in there. I think he was like 6-1 more in line, and he got hammered. And I do remember that was a race on paper where there wasn't much speed. And I think Pratt kind of decided early on, like he was just committed. I'm going to the front. And then when he didn't get it, he was kind of just in chase mode the whole time. And it wasn't a trip that worked out. And that's why I set up a horse from way off the pace, like Decivio. It was like 40-1. Yeah, he was like 40-1 in there. The race just kind of set up for a closer. So probably just wasn't his day. He actually still ran okay to finish fourth in not a great trip. And then the Tappet at Kentucky Downs, that was a good field. Look at the things that horses have done out of that race. He finished second in there against a field that it's better than what he's facing here. And I do think, looking back at his past races, a mile and eighth should be fine for him. He's the fastest horse in the race. There's supposed to be some speed in front of him. I just think if he shows up with one of his better efforts, he's supposed to win this race.
He is supposed to win this race. Yeah, you mentioned, you nailed it right on the head. I really have very little to add. That Sycamore, though, weirdly run race. Utah Beach was on the lead for most of that race. I don't think I've ever seen that horse up front. That was a mess, especially for somebody who singled that horse. I was so confused when I saw him up there early. But either way, Ohana Honor was up close and did maintain a good pace towards the end. I do think the cutback is going to help him. I think, he's not necessarily a horse that has shown an abundance of speed or needed to, as was the case in the Tappet Stakes where he came from a little farther out of it. You had the Manhattan where I think that's kind of his best sort of run style. He was overmatched that day, but I think that he can get back to that sort of tactical run style, that sort of off the pace trip. And, maybe he was just a little too close last time and it just kind of flattened out his late turn of foot. But Pratt's going to have him in a good spot. And yeah, as you mentioned, he should absolutely win this race. He is a deserving favorite. You're going to spice things up in the Exacta, going Fuerteventura underneath. If I could speak, that'd be great. What do you like about this one to round out the Exacta?
I just thought he was a little interesting off that last race. That was the claiming crown day they had at New York. I forget what they called it, but they had their own version of the claiming crown races. And that was another trip I just didn't think was great. He didn't make the front, but he was forcing the issue in between horses. Got a tiny little breather on the turn, then he took on the pace setter, put that horse away, and just got caught late by horses that all came from off the pace. And that was a race I thought was maybe a little bit better than it looks. He's run numbers. After the favorite, I think this race is wide open. I don't like Trickery at all. I've seen enough of him. I don't like the 7. I think the horse is a little overrated. And if you're looking for a horse to spice up this Exacta, I do think he is capable of getting the lead in this spot. And if they leave him alone, I think he can take his foot a long way. And if they do, based on how they rode him last time, I do think there's a chance that he's able to outbreak the one horse. And, again, he's run numbers that put him right there in the mix for second. So I think give me an Exacta with the 4 over the 2.
I like it. And hey, last time out, lost to a horse named Risk Manager, who I know you're against this horse in the Churchill races, but is going to be on the nightcap at the Churchill Downs card. That's a heavy lean for myself. Mikey P, who was on our show yesterday, also liked that horse. Going to be the number 3 in the finale at Churchill Downs this Saturday in a race that we covered. So and in terms of running lines, you got to like that. So I don't hate the shout on Fuerteventura whatsoever. I did go with the horse that you're a little bit sick of. I'm probably not going to play any vertical bets in here, but Tricari's a horse that I've always liked this horse, but this horse is not exactly loved to get his picture taken recently. Hasn't exactly gone on as a 4-year-old, but it still runs hard and still tries. So I'm hoping second off the bench for Graham Motion, getting out to that the 1.8 mile distance, which I do think fits him. Fits him. I just want to give this one more chance. Again, I think this race is Ohana Honor through and through, and I like your pick of Fuerteventura to finish in second. I thought this one, though, always has had that kind of upside, and I think on his best day, he can certainly give Ohana Honor a run for his money. It's just, are we really going to see that effort? So that remains to be seen. But I'll take Tricari underneath in a race that, again, I'm a heavy lean on Ohana.
Yeah, the problem is his best day was 16 months ago now, and he has not been. Yeah. I mean, his only good race this year was the Maker's Mark, and that form has not held up at all. Carl's has been terrible overseas, and Integration lost at like 3-5 in a grade 1. Like, I don't know. How did he not get second last time? He should have gotten second in there. He didn't even go that strong quality.
Yeah, he probably should have. Activist investing, good horse, strong quality. I think Tricari probably should have, without a doubt, gone by. I'm going to hope for second off the layoff. Maybe we see a bit of a step forward, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go ahead and lean heavily on Ohana Honor. We'll wrap up race 9. Oh, yeah.
Did you look at the 6 horse at all, Signator? I thought he was maybe a tiny bit interesting, too. That race 2 back suddenly looks a lot better after Wolfie's Down and Goes ran a 1 of 10 or 110, whatever it was last weekend.
Yeah, I looked at this horse. Let's see 98, I guess, is what they gave him. Does that look right?
Really?
Yeah, 90. I guess. I thought it was higher.
It was like a 113, I think. It was way different. Way different.
The time form was huge. Anyway, no, I didn't look at this horse, and that's just because anytime a trainer as good as Shug McGahee is lets his horses go for a claiming tag, he's a pretty hard trainer to improve a horse off of, and that's nothing against this new trainer. Panagiotis? I don't know. That's nothing against him. It's just it's hard to take a horse and improve them off of Shug McGahee, and he's had plenty of runs over the turf course going this distance and around this distance. So I don't know. Maybe the blinkers on gets him a little bit sharper. If he's a huge overlay and we get 12, 14, 15 to 1, yeah, I can play him underneath. But I don't know. Even with that form of Wolfie's Dyna Ghost, I don't really think that he's one I'm going to take coming back. What about you?
Yeah, he'd be just an underneath type for me. But even the last, I know he got claimed last time, but he got claimed for 100,000. It wasn't like he was in for 30. And they took lucky downs, and that was a race that he closed in a slow pace against a good horse. I think there are things to like about him. I agree with you though. Ohana Honor is supposed to win. I would more use him in second and third for the verticals.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That's a good shot there. All right, we'll wrap up race number 9. I'm going 4-3. Jackson's going 4-2 in the co-feature, the Knickerbocker Stakes. We'll move on now. Race 10. It's a maiden race on the grass. They're going a mile and a 16th. 2-year-old fillies. Picks are up. I'm going 12-6. Jackson going 4-9. Once again, we are completely off in all of our opinions. But hey, that's more horses to talk about, more opinions to share. So Jackson, we'll start with you, the number 4, Abigail.
Yeah, this is the filly that it doesn't say in the comment lines, but she had a lot of trouble. If you watch that replay, she was broke on the outside post, and then she just did not. I don't know if she got bumped or if she just didn't take the turn well, but she got out in the first turn, lost a lot of ground early, then kind of came back to the field. It was just a weird trip that she goes on the backside, she drops out of it again, she's wide again in the far turn, but she finished up really nicely. She galloped out really well. I think she had the second fastest closing kick in that race. I think it was probably just an educational run there because now they get what is historically the barn's go-to rider in Rosario to climb aboard for her second career start. It just seems like a filly that is going to take a big step forward second time out because now she's drawn inside. And, as we're going to see, it's coming up right now. But I do think the number she got in that race is pretty competitive against what the favorites have done in here. So if we do see that step forward, I think she's dangerous. As we see right here, I couldn't tell if she got knocked off stride or she just didn't take the turn well. But she lost some ground right there, kind of had to rush back up to get into contention. And then, she was just wide on the second turn as well. And I do think it was a good educational run. So I'm expecting her to improve. She's 8-1 in the morning line. In a race like this, it seems wide open. I think that's a very fair price.
I don't disagree. She was very wide in that start last time out on both turns. And yeah, I'm not sure if she got knocked going into that turn or if she just kind of bore out and didn't take the turn too well. It's her first time doing that in a barn for a family that we're pretty aware kind of just doesn't crank their horses out first time out and kind of likes to race them into shape and give them that education. So maybe that's what that was. Jaime Rodriguez was aboard that day. You mentioned the jockey switch to Rosario. This is certainly one I will give a close look to. You mentioned the post position, much more favorable than drawing way out in no man's land at post 10. This one broke from last time. So Abigail could certainly improve second time out going long. I didn't get too creative in here. I went with the number 12, Isadora Duncan, Flavian Pratt, Chad Brown, and Brant team up once again. Chad Brown, as usual, off to a very hot start at Aqueduct. I feel like I've seen this before where I try and beat these horses, even though, she's drawn out in the parking lot. this is just a horse where lost to a nice horse in Blue Madame, who's also trained by Chad Brown. She won really nicely that day. Isadora Duncan finished in second. She had a pretty decent kick first time out. I feel like his 2-year-olds, or I know his 2-year-olds can certainly improve second time out. I got to take this one. I don't know that I'm going to lean super heavy in terms of like a single because I already have, the Johanna Honor and 3 Bs in this sequence. But this is one I'm going to use on top, and I'll press up as well just because, again, I think Pratt, Chad teaming up, that I know it's nothing breaking news here, but they're always tough to beat, and his horses just seem to take leaps and bounds of progression between starts. So 12 on top for me. Any thoughts on that one, Jackson?
No, she's another contender. This race is wide open. I think if you made a case for anyone, I wouldn't have too many bad things to say about it.
All right, we'll go to your next choice, the number 9, Delightful Darling for Mark Casse, Dylan Davis.
This is kind of the last chance for her. I think if she doesn't win on Saturday, she's a horse you can kind of just a horse that picks up pieces late, or settles for pieces, I should say. The race 2 back at Saratoga was really good. That was a pace that was a hot pace. She was always on top of it. And the horses that ran her down came from the clouds. It was Quiet Street and Lit Ship. Both of who came back to win. They both came back Kentucky Downs and won. One of them was a stake race. So that was a good – it wasn't like those were bad horses that came and got her. Those were good horses that had good setups. And they were well clear of the rest and fourth in the rest of the field. So I think Delightful Darling, that race 3 back was good. 2 back was good. Last time was just okay. I guess she was a tad wide. She kind of just ran in place, which makes me think perhaps the mile will be okay for her, that she will stretch out. I would expect her to be in front. I mean, I got to assume they're just going to wing it on the front end and see what they got, because that's probably her best chance in here. And she is the fastest horse of the proven form thus far. So if she's able to take her talent to 2 turns, she could be dangerous in this spot as well.
She definitely can. And I was going through her breeding. She's half to multiple winners, multiple turf route winners as well. And obviously the top side Flame Away does turf very well, whether it's sprints or routes for his progeny, about 13-14% as we saw. You mentioned quickest early. Dylan Davis should get this horse out to the front. There's not a whole lot of other early gas, certainly not in terms of 21 and change speed that this horse has been close to, or 22 and change speed that this horse is pretty much on the lead for. So I'm with you. Should get out there and just kind of see how far they can go. Maybe that bottom side Bernardini influence maybe hints to going longer, so maybe that will be the hint. Has plenty of foundation with those 4 sprints as well. So stretch out 9-2, not too bad. Last one we'll talk about is the number 6, Just Tell Ann. This is one I think is going to sit just off of the number 9, Delightful Darling. Has some early speed. Ray Handel, I love his number, second time turf. Stretching out, certainly no issue. Has a pretty good work coming in here. I wish I was able to watch it, but seems to be in a relatively sharp time there. Seems to be another horse that's kind of progressing. Constitution on top, Into Mischief on the bottom side, so clearly 2 turns I think is going to be the answer. Hope Kendrick gets this one into some early position and sees if he can kind of get first jump on any of those deep closers in here. Comes out of the same race as a couple of others in here, but I want to take Just Tell Ann. 6-1 was more than fair in my eyes.
Yeah, I would have had her third. She never got covered up last time. She was always like 3 wide pressing the whole race. I think that race was probably better than it looked, and the debut was pretty good too on the dirt.
Horses have come out to run okay out of there. They are just 2-year-olds after all, but a couple of improving buyers and next out winners. So, any love to the number 8 in for Graham Motion?
Yeah, that was a horse I wasn't quite sure what to do with. I don't like her as the favorite. I think there are more interesting horses at better prices, but the debut was pretty solid. I thought that was a good race. The 2-turn race at Laura I thought it was just okay. I don't know what you thought of it. It was kind of a slow pace that she kind of just sat on top of, and it was fine. It was fine. She's obviously a contender in this spot, but again, I just think there are horses at better prices that I would prefer.
I agree. I think there's some better price shopping to do. Should just note, Graham Motion and Jaime Rodriguez team up to have a good bit of success on the ROI front. Looking at, obviously a massive price here as they are 1 for 2 with a 24.40 ROI, but also I believe that's 4 win. Certain 38% from 13 starters with above a $5 ROI all time or over the past year when they team up together. So just something to point out is they clearly do some good work. That was a slow pace, to your point. Not one I necessarily wanted out of there. Was just kind of curious your thoughts in general. This is a competitive field to end things out. Last one, a bit of a live long shot, I think, is the number 3, Sharing Wisdom. Kenny McPeak with his 2-year-olds. He's been lights out up in New York with that Jimmy Jerkins type angle. But this one, another one that maybe is kind of run those same 3 figures, same 3 races, 3 in a row. I don't know that this one necessarily has that huge late kick. I don't know where I would expect this one early, but I do think this one is another candidate to improve and has 2 of 3 runs in the trifecta. So maybe one to use a little bit underneath. We'll wrap things up. Jackson, that was a fun sequence. I'm going in race number 10. I'm going 12-6. Jackson is going 4-9 for those audio listeners. Thank you guys for tuning in. Jackson, between how'd you do in that tournament today? I saw you were playing in one, or assumed you were playing in one. Obviously, our buddy Noah is the most recent winner of a tournament to get into the large one this weekend on Twin Spires. Yeah,
today wasn't our day. We had a good look at it, just took a swing and missed. But little bro Noah had a great day. He won the contest, so he'll be playing on. I think he's playing on Saturday, and at the Churchill one. So it'll be a lot of fun. All of our friends are playing in it, and definitely want to beat them.
That's gonna be fun. What's up?
I need the bragging rights. So we got to beat them.
That's right. Yeah, bragging rights over whatever is in the prize pool. Bragging rights just goes so much farther. So thank you guys for watching. Jackson, we will be back later tonight in just a couple hours over on the HHH Racing Podcast as we go through the late pick 5 tomorrow, Friday at Del Mar. Rain or shine, might be a little bit of rain, but should be a nice enough card out there to start our weekend. Obviously, no racing at Del Mar on Saturday to be announced for Sunday, but I think we're okay. It's not normal that I have to deal with weather out here. So, I only know so much, but to everybody that tuned in to listen tonight, thank you guys. We will see you next week. And if you come on over to the HHH Racing channel, you will see us there. Please be sure to check out inthemoneypodcast.com for all of the excellent content out there. Jackson and I will be featured on more content as the time goes on. And of course, subscribe to the Gallop Out on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. Jackson, have a good one. We'll see you in a couple hours.